Welcome to the Songwriters Across Texas podcast. This state has a lot to offer, and music is one of its greatest exports. On this podcast, we get to know songwriters through their stories and hear some of their music. Today, we're at Arlyn Studios, and my guest is Marcia Ball. I'm Karl Anderson, and this is the Songwriters Across Texas podcast. She was born in Orange, Texas when spring arrived in 1949, but was quickly moved to Vinton, Louisiana, where she was raised. There was a lot of piano playing in young Marcia Ball's home. Both her grandmother and her aunt played, and Marcia started lessons at school. She got into Fats Domino and Professor Longhair, and especially Irma Thomas. She went to LSU in the 60s as music was blossoming in all directions, studied English, and played in a band called Gum. By 1972, she joined the progressive country band Freda and the Firedogs in Austin, Texas. By 74, her career was underway. What a ride it's been. She's won so many awards. She was nominated for a Grammy in 1998 and the Blues Music Award for Best Contemporary Blues Album, and won in 1998 for the Contemporary Female Vocalist of the Year and Best Blues Instrumentalist on Keyboards. She also won Contemporary Blues Album of the Year in 2002 and in 2004. Man, she's got dozens more just like that. Austin City Limits Hall of Fame, Pine Top Perkins Piano Player Award twice, 5 Grammy nominations. I hope you understand just how very happy we are to have the illustrious Marcia Ball on our show.
Thank you so much for being here, Marcia.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. What are you going to start us off with?
I think I'll start off with one of my anthems, a song that kind of celebrates life and doing good. I have a collection of those.
You got a bunch of those.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. The sun was shining in my door. Well, I opened up my eyes and saw I did not have to worry anymore. I'm gonna let a little secret slip. It's not the destination, it's the trip. It's the moss you gather while you roll. Don't you know? That's how it goes. You gotta stop, look, and listen. The message that you're getting is clear. You can't wait for Christmas, Lord. It's Christmas every day of the year. So count your blessings one by one and welcome every rising sun. You help me, that's the way the world should be. Tit for tat, give and take. Just be good for goodness sake. Pick you up if you should fall. It works both ways if it works at all. Hold in your heart the people you love. Always thank the powers above. Everyone deserves a share, so keep your promise. Fair is fair, y'all. keep on keeping on, keep on going. Yeah, you know, that's how it goes. Ooh, you know, that's how it goes, yeah.
I'm a one-man clapping machine.
Oh my goodness gracious. You know, they made me get out of the shot when you were playing, and I was like, oh, I'm glad they made me get so I could dance. You are so incredible, and it's great to hear you on Bobby Nelson's piano.
Oh my gosh, this is a thrill.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and I was like, oh my gosh, we get to hear Marcia playing that gorgeous piano.
And Marcia gets to play that gorgeous piano.
Yeah,
Thrilled.
You've had experience. You had some times in here in this Arlyn Studios, right?
Yeah, I made several records here.
Yeah.
And not only that, before it was even a studio, this used to be a little honky-tonk. This was a bar.
Oh, wow.
This room was a bar where we used to play.
That's cool. And you were like, that was back in like the late 70s, early 80s?
And that was probably early 70s to mid 70s. And there were three. There was this little bar room, the middle room, and then the big hall.
Wow.
Over there.
Yeah, I got here in '95, so I didn't witness that, but I love hearing about it, and because the time, my generation did pretty good with some songwriters, but the 10 years before us, they really paved some ground, and you're part of that.
I would say probably decade by decade, and I don't think Austin has lost anything creatively. I think
I'm with
there
you.
have been so many great artists, and when I started in the 70s, there were only about a half a dozen women
Right.
playing in bands and
Isn't that incredible?
performing, and now, of course, whoa.
To think how much has changed.
Yeah.
I was watching a Woodstock thing, and it's interesting. I've heard something compelled me last night while I was writing, looking over your bio and work and stuff, and I was like, I played this Woodstock doc, and it was like these guys who put the whole thing on. They made doc and told the story, and I thought, you were about like 20, right around Woodstock, right? Or 19, right? Yeah,
That was 69. I was 20.
Because the music, you fell into so many different genres, immediately. And was that time for you, like, how aware were you of Woodstock? Were you a part of it? Did you go?
No, I didn't go, but I was in Baton Rouge and got in my first band in 68 and
When
was
you were
screaming rock and roll. I was doing Janis and
Nice.
Grace Slick, and we did Jimi Hendrix. And we also threw in some of our local things that we had, like Slim Harpo was right there,
Cool.
and I loved Taj Mahal, who had already started recording, so I did a couple of things like that. But we went to a pre-Woodstock pop festival. The first one we ever heard about was in Hollywood, Florida in 1968, Christmas going into 69.
Okay.
Over the Christmas holidays. And it was kind of a pre-Woodstock. It was some of the same people
Right.
promoting it and
I've
a
heard
lot
of
of
it.
the same artists, but it was a 3-day festival.
Was it successful, or was that the one where they kind of put it at a racetrack or something? And
It was at the Hollywood, Florida racetrack.
Right.
And I thought it was incredibly successful.
Awesome.
I
Good.
saw Iron Butterfly, and
right.
Canned Heat, and among other things, Joe Tex and Flat and Scruggs, the two really off the wall, not fit into the psychedelia
Right.
acts, but which I made a point of seeing both of them. But what happened was they wouldn't let the hippies camp on the beach, and that was shocked everybody who came from all up and
I
down
think
the
that's
seaboard.
what the problem happened
right.
there.
So
yeah.
Buffy St. Marie went to the Indian reservation and asked if they could
right.
if we could camp on the reservation.
so cool. And
And
they
so
allowed
they
you.
said yes.
Yeah.
And we did.
Wow.
Yeah.
You really get to just be a part of and witness so many cool things. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what it was like growing up in your house with your grandma and your aunt playing piano, and how much that just attracted you right away?
Well, that was definitely a big part of growing up, and I'm old enough that after Sunday dinner, you didn't go to the TV and watch football. You went to the living room, and of course, everybody's sitting around smoking.
Right, right.
And somebody played the piano.
Right.
Somebody was playing the piano, and my aunt played beautifully, kind of the things from the 40s and 50s, Gershwin and stuff like
Right.
that. And my grandmother, who'd not played, wasn't playing very much anymore, but she was very Tin Pan Alley and stride and ragtime. So I mean,
So you're getting it all
I had all that, growing up.
Right off the bat, and you just got lessons in school, right?
Yeah, well, they started me in piano lessons about the same time I started school. But the other cool thing was that growing up in Southwest Louisiana, right across the river from Beaumont, Port Arthur, and Orange, the Golden Triangle,
Okay.
which is where Janice was,
Right.
and Johnny and Edgar Winter were, and where
yep.
Clifton Chenier spent a lot of time, and we had Cajun
Wow.
bands from my town like Joe Bonsall and the Hackberry Ramblers, and then all the music from New Orleans and all the soul music. It was just an incredible time.
Is that where Clifford
Musically.
Antone was too?
He's from Port Arthur.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he had all that taste for. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
He came from there and carried it with him here.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, you were there and you were being inspired by Professor Longhair.
I didn't get to Professor Longhair until a really serendipitous event much later.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I knew Fats Domino, I had Jerry Lee, I had Little Richard, I had Ray Charles, I had Ernie Cado and Lee Dorsey and all these people playing, stuff on the radio
Right.
out of New Orleans or everything. But it was not until I was here in Austin in about 1973 that a band called Uncle Walt's Band came to town with a fabulous record that they had made, and in that record was "In the Night," a song by Professor Longhair. He had had his bloom, had no action for quite a long time, and right in the maybe early 70s, Atlantic reissued some stuff.
Right.
But I didn't know about it until Champ Hood told me about it and laughed at me. He said, "You don't know Professor Longhair."
I must confess that I was made aware of him like 3 or 4 years ago by Mike Barfield, but I was like, because he was like this, he showed me this record. He's like, this guy really influenced me.
It became my college of musical knowledge at that point. That was I just learned the whole record.
Wow, but a lot of people say that they just. You hear the song, you just got to learn it all, and
Yeah.
I think that's a neat way to approach. Can you read music too?
Yeah, but it's not in not as well as my 14-year-old grandson.
Wow, I got you. It was never necessary.
Well,
really.
yeah, it doesn't hurt, but everything I really learned I learned by ear from records and then from the people I've played with over the years.
Which
and
have
worked
been
with.
so many.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting too when you told me that your playing style, you're left-handed, and that it really influences. And
I'm not really left-handed. I write with my right hand, but I'm a left-handed piano player because my left hand carries the beat. I'm propulsive, and so I'm always facing the other way.
Right. So we got you kind of in a reverse angle of that. But
it's weird.
Well, it's going to challenge you and challenge you and challenge.
Oh, I can take it.
So now you're saying you're in Austin. And it's like 73, 2, 3, but that's when you fall in with the Freda and the Firedogs, right?
Yes. I had a living room band when we moved here, and some of the people from the Baton Rouge band had come over, so we were carrying on. But I went one night to the One Night on Red River.
Okay, I don't remember that place.
Never a cover.
Nice.
The One Night. It was great. And it was the place. And, you could hear Storm, which was pre-Thunderbirds, Jimmy Vaughan. And,
yeah, cool.
yeah, everybody played there. But I went, we were killing time before we were going to the Armadillo to see, I think maybe Doug Kershaw.
Okay.
And we walked in and there was a band playing called Dub and the Dusters. And all the bands in Austin at that time were like DK and the Do-Right Diamonds and, somebody in the so-and-sos.
Right.
So Dub and the Dusters was playing, and they did this magic array of songs. The Kirby Gupton was the guitar player, main singer, and he would do a Van Morrison song, then he would do a George Jones song, and then he would do a B.B. King song. And he would nail every one of them, and it was just the perfect medley of material that I loved. And that came from the same school as people like the Byrds and the band, kind of mashing up all these great styles.
Right.
So I loved them, and I went on the break, and I started talking, very unlike me, started talking to the drummer in the band, who happened to be Freddie Fletcher.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
He's
my goodness.
watching us. And we talked a little bit. We had a mutual friend, actually, Bobby Charles from Louisiana. Bobby Charles, who wrote See You Later, Alligator.
Oh, wow.
And I Don't Know Why I Love You, But I Do, and Walking to New Orleans, and a bunch of songs that I do now that were later rights of his. So Freddie invited me to sit in. Mm-hmm. The bass player, Bobby Earl, was not happy about it.
Uh-huh.
But because they didn't do sit-ins, but I got to sit in. And next thing you know, Bobby Earl and I are in a band together.
Wow.
together.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. But so did you feel like you were running into any of the, you're one of, you said like 6 female vocalists maybe at the time. Were people real receptive to wanting to work with a female vocalist? I'm sure they must have been.
He was ready for that.
Good.
He says he went home and told his wife, I found, the one I want to work with. So, yeah.
And then how did that take off?
Well, he called me on Wednesday and said, we have a gig at the Split Rail on Sunday. And I said, I don't even go to the Split Rail. It was a redneck country bar. I'd been there one time with Bobby Charles to see Kenneth Threadgill, but we were scared the whole time.
Wow.
Now I got a gig there on Sunday.
Wow.
Not to mention the fact that I told him, I said, you have heard my whole country repertoire, which was me and Bobby McGee, which is what I sang when I sat in.
Right.
And he said, oh, don't worry, I'll come over and show you some stuff. And that was it, every Sunday night for 2 years. And packed houses.
Was it good pay?
Did it pay?
Yeah.
$45 and pass the hat.
And pass the hat. Well,
yeah.
Sometimes there was no cover. I mean, no pay, right?
Yeah,
then pass the hat.
You know what? We made okay money back in the 70s and even into the 80s.
That's more than most people tell me from back then. They were like, they weren't throwing money around very much.
Well, I quit my day job.
But also back then, $40 got you pretty far. You could get rent for $300.
Yeah, and the hat worked out pretty well too.
Yeah, the hat's always been a good thing.
And dollar pictures.
Dollar pictures. We had a nickel night when I was in college.
Yeah.
Nickel beers and nickel shots. And I was like, boy, 50 cents to get you a long way.
Yeah.
that was the old.
All the way down.
That was the old days. Yeah, exactly. I had a friend who had a glass eye and he took it out and it ended up on the floor and everyone was chasing it around. It was like a cartoon. It was
dropping
funny
in his beer.
Let's go back to the Freda thing because I think that, you got a lot of, it really kind of set your career off.
It did. It was what established me in Austin. It's what got my name, although my name was Freda. Took a little while to turn that around.
Right.
But, it's really what established me here.
How long did it last?
We broke up at Willie's 4th of July picnic. I mean, we knew we didn't have a fight.
Right. You said this is going to be it.
But we knew that Willie's 4th of July picnic in 1974 at the Motor Speedway in College Station was our final gig.
Gotcha. But then you were off, and where did you go from there?
I joined a band briefly that was a real straight country band because that's what we always thought. We wanted to be accepted as a country band like the Moods of Country Music or the Country Music Review, which were both
Right.
local bands, are Johnny Lyon and Janet Lynn and the Country New Notes, which were
Right.
the three big bus-riding, touring bands who played all over Central Texas, slept at home every night, drove Cadillacs. You know, we thought that's what we
Right.
wanted to do. Well, I joined a real country band, and I found out that what you really are is a jukebox, that people dance, and then they turn and they walk away. And I was used to the Firedogs, where we played a song and people went,
Yeah,
you know.
right,
and
right.
So I had to decide whether to start a band, join a band, or give it up and go do something else.
Right.
And I was pregnant at the
Okay.
time.
Wow.
So I knew I didn't want a day job because that would be too hard with a kid. I didn't want to join a band because I had to be able to call the shots. So I decided to start a band. And I once and forever have always fallen into a wonderful group of musicians. I just have been so lucky.
And is Austin really like that's where you find them, right?
Yeah, that's
Right.
always been the mother lode. So
Right.
I started a band. I didn't tell him I was pregnant.
That was
Because
probably
who'd join
smart.
that band?
Right.
So, well, we got started, and it was a great band.
Cool.
And
What
it was called, we called it Marcia and the Misery Brothers.
Okay.
Because when the Firedogs would play our corny harmonies that we do, somebody would tongue-in-cheek say, "Oh, it's Marcia and the Misery Brothers." So that's what I called the band.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
take that with you too.
Yeah. So that was from 1975 to about 1980 through various incarnations of musicians,
Cool.
but always of
Any-
a high quality.
Any in particular that you were like, boy, I really was psyched. I got to play with them, him or her or whoever.
Yeah. Well, Tommy Goldsmith would be one. He is now in his back home in North Carolina, but he wrote for many years after we worked together. He wrote for the Tennessean in Nashville and has continued to play music all these years and has written a book about the Stanley Brothers. And
Oh, cool.
He was the key man in that. He had played with Alvin Crowe
Wow.
before he got in the band with me. Jeffrey Barnes was the sax player. I had a sax player in that band because I was going from country and progressive country in Austin and going back to my roots. I knew I was going to move in the Louisiana direction. So I got a sax player.
Right.
Jeffrey went from my band to Brave Combo, and I guess if Brave Combo's still playing, Jeffrey's still with them.
Are they still playing?
And that would have been 1979,
Wow.
going into 80.
That's a pretty long
So,
run.
yeah, and he was spectacular. He plays all the horns. We called him the Professor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Horn players are just what an
I have
like
always had a horn player except for one brief interlude when I played four-piece. And that was with Doyle Bramhall on drums and
oh wow
and
cool.
David Murray on guitar.
You're cool, Marcia Ball. Let's do another song.
Speaking of Louisiana, I'm going
Yes.
to do a song about growing up in my hometown.
Perfect.
Okay?
I love
It's
it.
called Down the Road.
Down the road, ladies and gentlemen.
Good times down the road. Mama won't let me go. I'm sneaking off in my daddy's car, parked behind a B&B bar. And I'll go crazy if I can't get out on a dead-end street in a 10-block town. Every day I say I'm gone and dead. Every night I'm in the joints again. Down the road. Down the road. Down the road, woo, down the road. Damp nights and a heavy heart. Oh, when will my real life start? I'm tired of six-packs and drive-in shows. Talking back to the radio. Well, I got wheels and I'm ready to pack. And I don't know what's holding me back. One day I'll take the coastal bend, hit the Gulf of Mexico and drive on in. Down the road, down the road, down the road, woo, down swimming in the trap, wishing I could take the water away from Lake Charles on out to Galveston Bay. Keep on going to the open sea, wild like the wind and running free down the road. Let the good time roll down the road. Let me free my soul down the road. Well, I got to go down the road. Come along, you know, down the road. Take a trip with me down the road to the deep blue sea down the road. Ooh, down the road. Come along with me down the road, baby, down the road. Ooh, down the road. Now down the road.
That song was hot. Hot.
That
Down
is
the
a
road.
story. That's the story of my life.
I was gonna say, you know, you've been down like so many roads, and so like you've covered the world with your music. That's not everybody can say that at all.
We've been around, yeah, and it's been fun.
Is there anywhere in particular where you have like really good crowds, like in France or like?
Well,
Argentina.
I wouldn't. No, I mean we have played. I tell you, we played at the club in the Duc du Lombard in Paris, the jazz club, with so many pictures of legends on the wall that I just wanted to crawl into the place. I was just
Right.
so afraid that. You know, I mean, it was just such a heavy place.
Like where
of
Charlie
music.
Parker played and Miles, and yeah.
So, so we go in and we do our honky-tonk, you know.
Yeah.
things. And one fun thing that happened, though, there was a couple, the oldest couple in the room at one point, and they're sitting, I mean, I can just see them. I'm looking right at them. And we're kind of in the middle of the set, in the middle of a song, and they start to get up. I'm thinking, oh, man, you know, we ran them off.
Lost them.
We lost them, right? And then they got up and they danced.
Nice. Oh, that's so cool.
I love
there's
it.
no other profession in the world can you have an experience on watching how you can affect an elderly couple like that. Get them
Yeah.
up. I mean, to me, again, when you play, I'm glad that they make me get up because I don't want to sit down when you're playing. I don't know how anyone can't be moving around while you're playing.
Sometimes, though, you know, you get the opposite effect where, you know, somebody comes to you after the gig and said, we're thinking, man, I don't know. And they say, oh, you did great. I saw somebody move.
Right. No, I get that. And Austin had that for a while. I remember thinking, I was like, come on, people. You're not too cool to dance, you know?
Yeah. Well, styles have changed.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
They have, and isn't it neat that we've got to live through, like you were saying earlier, you know, on Sundays it wasn't football, it was okay, now after we eat, the adults smoke and drink and everyone plays music.
Yeah.
And then the radio came about, you know, it was like, okay, and then, you know, for me, I had TV and radio, but like I had a dial phone, you know, and that little transistor radio.
The transistor radio
got me everywhere.
I love those. I wish
Yeah.
my cell phone looked like a transistor radio. I bet you could get.
I was gonna say,
I bet you could get the picture of that.
I bet you could get
on
a
your-
case,
on
yeah,
your
like
phone.
a case. That's a good idea.
A case that looked like that. That would be great.
Let's
Or
just get
like
on
when
that,
you turned it
Marcia.
on, you know
Let's
it
put one out.
looked like
Look, I bet we could do that. A phone case. Well, it looks like a transistor. Yeah, but I'm so grateful that I
I
have
want
that.
turquoise.
Turquoise?
Yeah, mine was turquoise.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember. Mine was just, I think, gray and black. But gosh, that was like my best pal.
With
you know?
that little metal stand that would swing out and you
Yeah.
could prop it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Where have we gone here?
Talking music, man. We're talking about the thrill of it all. I think, like, I love talking about that. You know, I talk about record albums, how
Oh, my
important
gosh.
the albums were, not the CDs, not tapes, and the record, because you soaked it up with the art and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
You got the lyrics, you know, like.
I have a lot of LPs. I have a lot of 45s and
Mm-hmm.
and even pretty good collection of 78s.
Wow.
But I have an embarrassment of cassettes, and I don't know what to do with them all because I'm superstitious about it. Because some of them are mine, but a lot of them are labeled artists.
Right.
But a lot of them are things that people gave me.
Right.
And I'm always afraid there's like one great song on there. And if I toss that, I
see.
won't get that song.
Right. So you need to hire somebody maybe to document or download it all.
There's
or
not
something.
enough time in the world.
I can imagine. I've got a bunch of tapes too that I can imagine
And then I love that
from
people say, "Well,
shows
you
and
should
stuff.
digitize them." Well, then I've got another. So now I put them in my computer, and then I burn a CD, and then I've got like 3 more
Right.
piles.
Exactly. I
But I
think
can't let them go.
no, and nor should you. I don't think, and as long as you're not tripping over them.
Yeah. No.
Not yet. I thought it was interesting that we talked about earlier the Iridium in New York.
Yeah.
And I had just I lived in New York and I didn't know about this place and it has such a rich history. And so I went out and I looked at the website and you were playing there and I was like, oh, Marcia's living. So can you tell me about that place?
Well, it's very special, and it used to be in the neighborhood with the Lincoln Center, kind of right across the street at a hotel. And we used to go, whenever we were in New York, if we had a night off, we would go to see Les Paul. He played there like every Monday night or something.
Wow.
And so we always would make that show. But now they've moved down to close to Times Square and into kind of a more hectic part of town.
The Disneyland.
But it's one of the places, I mean, if I start naming the iconic places and the places that mean so much to me, then I know I'll leave something out.
Right.
But I used to always say that there's a club in the suburbs of Chicago called Fitzgerald's.
Uh-huh.
And it opened at the same time as the Fitzgerald's in Houston opened.
Okay.
And was very similar in that the people who opened them actually were the Fitzgeralds.
Right.
In both cases. Not related, no relation, but about the same time, and booked a lot of the same music.
Interesting.
But Fitzgerald's in Berwyn, Illinois, has been going since 1981. We played there in 1981.
Wow.
We were told by the guy who built it that before we even played there, when we were at another club on Lincoln Avenue in Chicago, that he was going to open a club.
Gotcha.
So that for 40 plus years, has been what I would say was welcome to Fitzgerald's, the best club in America, and they're for the world.
Wow.
And it really was all that.
Wow.
And he had everybody from Clifton Chenier to whoever you want to name right now, Todd Snyder.
Yeah.
You know.
No, cool. Yeah. That's a nice, from one
the
door.
sub dudes and everybody else. So that's been great. Tipitina's in New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
Jimmy's in New Orleans. Any place in New Orleans.
Yeah.
The Ark in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay.
Jazz Alley in Seattle. Slim's in San Francisco. Bimbo's in San Francisco.
I know that. Yeah.
Freight and Salvage in Berkeley.
Did you spend a lot of time in San Francisco?
Much as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother lives there too. Yeah.
Much as I can. We just had a wonderful time there, and we went to a Giants game. We had a night off, and we went to the new stadium.
Wow.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm a big baseball fan. I'm always jealous when someone tells me
Giants and the Cubs.
the Giants and the Cubbies. That's an old school matchup.
Yeah.
The old New York Giants days.
Yeah.
I didn't witness that.
You were born too late.
I was just born just a little too late. That's an interesting thing though, because I was born in the end of '67, and I love it. Like I don't think you should identify too much with anything necessarily, but there are things that make you who you are, and you're born into a specific time, and I feel like that was the perfect one for this guy, to be born into.
Yeah.
And you got, you have a few years before me even, and so you got to witness these things, from 49 to 67 but America was changing so rapidly, and so many things were going so neat to live through it.
I'll tell you what the most fortunate thing, moving here to Austin in 1970, in the same year that the Armadillo World Headquarters opened up.
That's right.
And it lasted for 10 years. 3 years later, Soap Creek Saloon.
Right.
opened up out in the hills of Westlake and lasted for probably 15 years. And then in 75, Antone's opened up.
On 6th Street, right?
On East 6th.
And it was like that was about the only thing happened on E6 that was legal.
Yeah, exactly. So those things and the music that those venues brought to Austin was a college education for anybody who was paying any attention, and especially at the Antone's years when Clifford would bring every living blues artist to town for a week. You know, he would have them here he'd have Little Milton for a week, Otis Rush,
the big boys.
Jimmy Rogers, and, you know, Hubert Sumlin and Mel Brown lived here.
Right.
You know, they were on what I called scholarship at Antone's, you know. We're so fortunate. Of course, Muddy Waters and Buddy Guy and Willie Dixon and everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Pine Top Perkins. I mean,
Pine Top. My boyfriend. Pine Top's my boyfriend.
That's right. You got his award a few times. But again, it's so fortunate and lucky that he came from that triangle, and he was like you with all those different types. But the blues, man, you know, and that was his jam. And he just wanted to share it with everybody.
Belzoni, Mississippi is where Pine Top was from.
Okay. Do you know Eve Monsey, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, she was saying now how Clifford was this, like, you know, again, like when she was a kid, you know, I like blues guitar, you know, like, okay, kid, who do you like? And she's like, who was it? Sam, Magic Sam, I think.
Yeah.
So she was like, Magic Sam. And she goes, and Clifford goes, and she's like, did I say something wrong? He's like, no, here. And then all of a sudden with her and Gary, you know, and then within 2 years they're playing with Hubert Sumlin.
Right.
Clifford finally invites him up. But I love how Clifford did that. And I think Austin's just always nourished the youth. If you can play, you get up here,
right.
You know?
Right. I know a couple of generations when Johnny and Jay Moeller came to town.
Yeah. Clifford
just put him in his car and drove him around all night listening to music, you know, end up at Katz's Deli, eating something, drive around some more. 10 years later, here came the Keller brothers, Corey and Mike. Clifford's car, and off we go. We're driving along.
The Sexton brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The Peterson brothers.
That's right. The Peterson brothers, for goodness sake. Yeah, we're big fans of them.
Yeah.
What a town to be a part of to me. I mean, the reason we're doing this show is to celebrate the rich history of Texas music, obviously. But, you know, Austin is really everyone migrates here eventually, you know, or spend some time here. And it's so worth it, you know. And you, to me, are such an important part of this story that we're trying to tell, and I just thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
And being here.
I'm full of old stories.
Well, we'll have to have you on again to get some more. But if in the meantime, it'd be great if you can close us out with one more song.
Okay. This is a song that I wrote with Tracy Nelson. And she had started this song as a falling out of love song. And then after Hurricane Katrina, she sent this to me and said, you know, I think we can make this like a bigger picture. And we did, and then it even grew longer, more so as the world has changed. It's called Where Do You Go When You Can't Go Home? Where do you go when you can't go home? What do you do when things go wrong? Who do you know when you're all alone? Where do you go when you can't go home? Well, I look around and I see a whole lot of people having hard times and trying to get by on their own when everything they've ever known and loved is gone. Where do you go when you can't go home? What do you do when things go wrong? Who do you know when you're all alone? Where do you go when you can't go home? And all the promises they made that there will soon be better days and we'll have comfort and be safe and be together once again. Good things come to those who wait. And we're still waiting for them. Well, I have worked every day of my life. I never took a handout. No, not me. I hit a run of bad luck. I couldn't pull myself up. The next thing you know, oh, I'm out in the street. Where do you go when you can't go home? What do you do when things go wrong? Who do you know when you're all alone? Where do you go when you can't go home? Where do you go when you can't go home?
Bravish! Out. Marcia Ball, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad that you had the time to come in here and visit with us and we got to hear your
I'm
stories.
happy to do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. What's your website, marciaball.com?
MarciaBall.com, MARCIA.
MARCIABALL.
Marcia with the CIA.
Marcia, oh yeah, you don't want to cross that. And please hit like and subscribe. If you're listening to this podcast and you want to watch it, go to the YouTube channel, Songwriters Across Texas. Thanks again, Marcia.
You're so welcome. Thanks, Karl.